Hi, my name is Donna Marie, but everybody calls me Donna. If you're new here, I welcome you. And for those of you that have been following me, thank you so much for following me and welcome back again. Last week was really hectic, so I didn't post a video last Sunday. I try to keep the videos on a certain day. I may add a couple of days here and there. I'm not sure yet, but uh, time will tell. I tried to give my YouTube channel a name, and I changed it to Joy in the Journey. I don't know if it'll show up that way or if it'll still show up as just Donna Marie. Whichever way, it's perfectly fine with me. Um, it'll get out there anyway. So this week I kind of procrastinated on getting my notes together because, yep, I am still using notes. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm still using them. There's just a lot that I want to share, and so I can't retain them all in one block. There's just no way. So the last video that I did, I believe that I ended with my time at the Shriners. And I had mentioned that my memories were not really, I don't feel that they're really my own, in the sense that, excuse me, I've got to shift weight. I'm still using the old chair, waiting for my other chair to be fixed still. So I'm very uncomfortable in this one now. It's been almost a month now that I've had this one. But I'm blessed and grateful to the Lord that I have something at least. Anyway, I wanted to kind of go and take a step back to the days of my time at the Shriners, and then work my way into my time at Newington Children's Hospital in Newington, Connecticut. And I had to call, of course, again, my mother to see if we could work together and talking back and forth and figuring out, what parts were the most important, what parts I could just leave out. Certain names and dates wouldn't necessarily mean anything to anybody because, you didn't live it, you weren't there, you don't know me, and some of you do know me, but, so we figured, we're trying to figure all that and just remembering, I was like, I pulled the joke on my mother. I said, by Mark Lowry. Oh, he's a Christian comedian and he is just hysterical. Anyway, he says, one of his jokes was, "Good night. God's in the house. Didn't anyone take a journal?" And so I said, "Good night. Didn't any journal this down so we could remember this stuff?" Not that I'm God, mind you, but kind of along that same vein, right? And so we were chuckling back and forth, and with certain names that we did want to remember, and I kept going over it and over it in my mind, and I went, "That's it!" And so I had to call my mother back to tell her what I remembered. But anyway, I'll get to that in a second. So my memories, like I said, of the Shriners, they all came with but the recollections for me are more based on what I was told and the pictures that I've seen. And so I don't really remember them on my own. I was very young. I was 3 years old when I went to the Shriners. And from what I'm told, that they did all that they could for me. I did go home after a certain amount of time. We don't remember how long I was there at the Shriners, but I know that it was some good amount of time. And I was sent home with a cast that went up to my waist, all the way down my legs, and formed onto the feet. And I had a bar in between. They were keeping them spaced apart. And so I went home with them like that. And then when after I had left the Shriners for a time, I ended up going back. My parents were swinging between two or three hospitals, going, because there was different professionals and different specialists that were working with my folks to help. And so I had come home and I went to Portland. The hospital then was known as CMG, and I had a surgery in which they placed a bag and what they called a stoma, which was, from my understanding, and if anybody's out there wants to correct me, please do by all means, because I'm understanding it to be a piece of a large intestine, in which they placed right on the top of my skin. And they had to reroute my bladder and kidney system, so that I would be peeing, pardon the expression, but urinating through the side into a bag. And so, and I had to drink a lot, drink a lot, drink a lot, drink a lot. And water, 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 which probably explains why I have such an aversion to water these days. I have water. I do have water. I really do. It's right here. It's in this cup of coffee. I know that doesn't count for water. I'm just joking. But anyway, I do have an aversion for water now. So when I do drink water, I have to put like a flavored tea bag in it, or some kind of flavoring in it, in order to just get it down. So, but I had that bag until I was 12 years old, which is another story on all its own. And so I would return to the Shriners to have the cast removed, and they wanted to fit me for braces, but because they couldn't figure out how to fashion one so that it would go around the bag, I ended up going back to Portland, and I believe it was in Portland that they finally fitted me for little braces. And I think that the braces really only served the purpose of keeping my legs straight, and keeping the ankles, so that I wouldn't atrophy too much. And more for that than anything else, because I don't recall ever really attempting to walk or having walked at all at that age. And so I'm talking about the ages between 3 and 8 years old. So my memories, though, of the Shriners, like I said, are solely from numerous pictures I've seen, stories that my folks have talked about. I'm sure that they have many memories. Pardon me. My mother may have very many memories. My father would have had many memories of different people that they knew. But there was one person in particular that really stood out for me, and his name was George. He was a Shriner. And every week or so often, I don't recollect how often they came to the Shriners Hospital to visit the kids, but they would bring balloons and toys and teddy bears and things like that for the kids and visit with the kids. And there was this one particular gentleman I really latched onto. I really loved George, and I nicknamed him Georgie Porgy. And he was a lot of fun. He played with me. He took the time with me and with all the kids, I'm sure. But George was a great guy. We have a picture, which I'm hoping, I am salivating, waiting to get these pictures, so that I can someday show you all the pictures that my mother has of over the years. And even she admits that there are some pictures that she wished she had written, who that was, because, you don't remember all of the doctors and nurses, but they were so instrumental in getting me to be where I am today. So there is one picture of me and George. He had, how they wear those red fez, I think is what they call them. I have a picture of me with it on, and then there was a particular nurse that I guess I must have really liked a lot, and that took a shining to me, I guess. And I have another picture of me with her nurse's uniform hat on. And so fun times. They really are. They're actually really precious memories for me. Yes, I went through a lot as a kid, and had a lot of surgeries, which I will cover and everything. But the people along the way, the friends, the family, the relatives, everybody, complete strangers even, would do things and say things and encourage me, and bring things in, fun from outside in the world, because we were in the hospital, for us to do and to play with and things like that. And they gave us great memories. And you do build attachments to the doctors and the nurses and the technicians, the x-ray department, and everywhere else, So, pardon the rattle of the paper. I should have turned that over or taken it out before. But anyway, so as I said, between the ages of 3 and 8, my parents were running between a clinic, which I just learned about that today, in my hometown, and then CMG in Portland, and then of course the Shriners, which eventually they stopped working with me. But and hope was thin, because they were still talking about, well, when she gets to be this age, this may happen, or when she gets to be this, we don't project that she'll live for any much longer than this, or and so hope was really rather thin. But my parents kept taking chance after chance after chance with me, and thank God they did. So God's hand was in it all, because I believe that without them even realizing it, they were taking a step out in faith, really, at the end of the day, really. And so, as I said, God's hand was in it all. And at one of the appointments at this clinic, there was this doctor that my mother says that she can't remember the man's name. And she said, but he knew the chief of surgeons. He was like in charge of just about like the whole place. Personally, went to school with him, apparently. Went to, medical school with him, was best friends with him. And then also, my godfather was also friends with a man who was a Shriner himself, and had connections with the Shriners, and also so that was how I got into the Shriners, was through that connection. And then this doctor at the clinic, he had connections to Newington Children's Hospital, and he, as I said, best friends with Dr. Curtis. Now here's a funny story. I really wanted to mention Dr. Curtis's name. I wanted to say Dr. Curtis because I really do remember him. I was 8 years old at this point, and I kept saying, what was his name? What was his name? What was his name? I know will never see this video. He's probably already gone to be with the Lord himself. But it meant something to me to just say the man's name, because I think my parents saw him as kind of a savior, and of sorts, had some hope in this man. Although I am quick to add that I do remember my mom and dad telling me that even Connecticut Children's Hospital did not have much hope either, but they wanted to at least try. They really weren't sure about. They really didn't have much hope for longevity of life of any sort. Quality of life was really in a big question. But Dr. Curtis was, I remember him, how he looked. He was very, very tall. The man had to be over 6 feet, 6'2" at least. He had a shock of white hair and little spectacles that he wore right here on the tip of his nose. And so he looked down, at me that way, or at anything, that he had in his hand, or, medical records or whatever he was looking at, he was like this, and looking down through those glasses. I just remember that so profoundly. And I remember how kind he was. And the first thing that they had to do was, for like several years, at least 3 or 4 years, my mother had been trying to heal a wound that I had on my backside, because I was prone to pressure sores back then. Knock on wood, I haven't had one in quite a while. It's been years since I've had one. And so trying to heal this thing, and getting help from, the hospital at CMG, and, trying to try different treatments to get this thing to close. Pressure sores are usually just that, from constant sitting, constant pressure. And so the skin breaks down, and then it has the potential to get deeper and deeper, and you don't want that, of course, because then now it's really hard to heal that. So the first thing they did in Connecticut was do plastic surgery. And in that time, we're talking like 1972, I want to say. Maybe the latter part of 71, 72, something like that. And that was the only way they knew how to heal it. So that would be the beginning of my journey there at Newington. And I really do praise this hospital. They specialized in kids like myself, although they had a variety of patients that they dealt with different disabilities, from cerebral palsy to um, being mentally disabled, maybe due to like hydrocephaly, or kids with um, chronic pain, which we would know today as fibromyalgia, um, and at all different stages, from being bedbound and having multiple surgeries like I did, to being in physical therapy or speech therapy, or going through all these therapies. This hospital was just amazing. Um, so as I said, it really was another, because the outcome and their thoughts of their prognosis, I think is the correct word, they really didn't hold out that much hope, but it was more hope than they had ever had. So next week I will get into my time in the hospital in Connecticut. And just as to add on another funny side note, when I came back, I had a Connecticut accent. Here in Maine, we pronounce my name Donna. In Connecticut, it's Donna. So I kind of came back with a little bit of a southern drawl. But uh, Connecticut, as I said, was just, I can't say enough. I would not be here today if it hadn't been for the fact that my parents took the chance and tried something else. Everywhere else had given up, but God wasn't giving up, and God wasn't allowing my parents to give up. So thank you for taking the time to listen. And as always, please like if you like this video. Please don't be shy about asking questions, making a comment. If you yourself have spina bifida, please, by all means, introduce yourself to me and tell me a little bit about yourself in the comments below. And don't forget to click on the little icon bell so that you're notified when the next video is coming, which I'm hoping will be next Sunday, God willing. Have a wonderful night, and God bless you all. Bye-bye now. Mwah.